The cafeteria was loud, buzzing with chatter, laughter, and the occasional clatter of trays. But in the middle of all the noise, one girl sat quietly at the end of a table, her shoulders drawn in as though she could make herself disappear. Her name was Emily, the new girl in school. She had only been there for a week, but it already felt like the longest week of her life. Emily wasn't shy by nature. Back in her old town, she had friends who loved her quirks, her gentle humor, and her way of listening when people needed her most. But moving to a new school in the middle of the year had crushed her confidence. Every hallway felt like a stage, every stair like a spotlight. She dreaded walking into the building each morning, her stomach twisting with anxious knots. And then came the bullies. They spotted her hesitation right away. The way she kept her head down, the way her hands trembled when she spoke. For people who thrived on making others feel small, Emily was the perfect target. They started with whispers and mocking laughter. Then came the imitations, a boy exaggerating her soft voice, a girl pretending to stumble over her own words, like Emily sometimes did when nerves got the best of her. By Thursday, it had escalated. At lunch, a group of boys surrounded her, led by Jason, the loudest and most popular one. He had that kind of charm that drew people in, but he used it to push others down. "Hey, new girl," Jason boomed across the cafeteria. "You lost again. Or do you just like eating alone like a weirdo?" His friends laughed, banging on the table. Emily stared down at her sandwich, willing herself not to cry. Her hands shook so badly that the sandwich slipped from her fingers. That was all it took for Jason to grin. "Oh man, look at her. She's falling apart just because we're talking to her." The laughter burned in her ears. Emily fled, her tray clattering into the trash, her heart pounding as she ran to the bathroom. She locked herself in a stall, sinking to the floor with tears streaming down her cheeks. She hated herself for being so weak, for giving them what they wanted. That night, Emily sat on her bed, her journal open in her lap. She wrote down everything she felt: fear, shame, anger. But this time, instead of ending with tears, she paused. At the bottom of the page, she scrawled 4 words that changed everything: "I am not weak." What Jason and his friends didn't know was that Emily had spent the last 3 years practicing judo at her old town's community center. It was the one place where her anxiety disappeared, where every throw and hold reminded her that she was capable of strength and balance. She hadn't joined a new dojo since moving, but the skills were still there waiting. Friday morning, Emily woke up with a strange calm. She still felt anxious, but under it was something stronger: resolve. At lunch, Jason struck again. This time, he and his friends cut her off in the hallway before she could escape to her usual quiet corner. "Hey, don't run away, new girl. We just want to hang out," Jason sneered, stepping closer. The crowd around them grew, students whispering, waiting for the spectacle. Emily's pulse hammered, but she forced herself to look up. "Leave me alone, Jason." "Oh. She speaks?" Jason laughed. "What are you going to do if I don't?" He stepped even closer, his voice dripping with mockery. He reached out, pretending to grab her shoulder. "Simon, show us how tough you are." And then it happened. In one fluid motion, Emily grabbed his arm, shifted her weight, and flipped him clean over her shoulder. Jason's body hit the floor with a stunned thud. The hallway went silent. His friends froze, their laughter dying instantly. Jason groaned, too shocked to move for a moment. Emily stood tall, her chest heaving. She hadn't planned it, but the training had come back like second nature. She looked down at Jason, her voice steady. "I told you to leave me alone." The crowd erupted. Not with laughter this time, but with gasps and murmurs of disbelief. Someone shouted, "Did you see that?" She took him down. The news spread across the school within minutes. The anxious new girl had flipped Jason, the loudest bully of them all. Jason got up, red, faced and humiliated, But something in Emily's eyes stopped him from trying again. For once, he had no comeback. He just muttered under his breath and pushed through the crowd. For the first time all week, Emily didn't feel invisible. She felt powerful. Students who had ignored her now gave her nods of respect, some even cheering. A girl from her math class hurried over and whispered, "That was amazing. He's been picking on people for years. You're incredible." The days that followed weren't perfect. Some people still whispered, and Jason avoided her, but the bullying stopped. Emily's anxiety didn't vanish overnight, but she learned something vital. Strength wasn't about never feeling afraid. It was about standing up anyway, about refusing to let fear define her. By the end of the month, Emily had joined the school's martial arts club. She made friends who admired her courage, not just her quietness. And though she still had tough days, she carried herself differently. She no longer kept her head down. She knew now that she wasn't weak. She never had been. The message spread quietly through the halls. Even the quietest, most anxious person can surprise you with their strength. And Emily? She walked into school each morning with her head held high, a small smile tugging at her lips, because she had faced her fear, stood up to cruelty, and discovered that sometimes the strongest warriors are the ones no one expects.